welcome to Homestead Corner. I'm Ginny, and today I thought we'd talk a little bit about prepping with no money. With all the uncertainty in the world, we have got soaring inflation. The supply chain is hanging on by a thread. Fuel is through the roof. There's open talk of World War III all over the news. You hear about this stuff. So I think right now there are so many people really looking into prepping that never have before. And a lot of times it can feel so overwhelming because it seems like everything is so stinking expensive. And yes, everything is more expensive today than it was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you started back then, you're in much better shape, but it can still be done today. I really think that is so important. If you haven't started, don't worry about how much it costs. Start now. These are a few things I think that you can do right now that don't cost any money or very little money at all. So if I was going to start prepping today, I would start by taking inventory of what I have. Go through your pantry, look for those dry goods. What do you have in there? Beans, rice, oats, things like that can definitely, they're really inexpensive. They're still pretty inexpensive, and you can still get those on the shelf fairly cheaply. But the more you can find that you already have in your house, the better off you're going to be. And once you know what you have a starting point at least, and you can make a plan on how to get to where you would like to be. Also, check those closets, under the beds, storage room, all that stuff. Look for camping gear, things of that nature, headlamps, flashlights, lanterns. Maybe you have a gas camp stove, something like that. Those can come in so handy during emergency. And if you have everything together, you really have got, if you can get everything together, you really have got a nice little start to your emergency supplies. The next thing I would do with crime getting worse and worse is I would do a safety audit on my home. I would walk around, look for weak spots, figure out where things can be fixed. Maybe a bush could be taken out, maybe a lock fixed or something like that. Different things. Look around and see what you have in place for security measures to keep you and your family safe, and try and see where you could build on that, what you could do. A lot of times it's just a simple do-it-yourself project. You can look those up on YouTube and learn tons of things. There are so many things you can learn, but doing it yourself, you'll be able to do it really cheaply. You may have a couple screws hanging around or a piece of wood, or you might be able to get those items for free just so you can increase your security. You know, different things. What could you do? What is working? And what would you feel more safe with? Making a list of all that stuff will really help you narrow down where to focus on for your security of your home. Learn for free. There is so much information out there that you can get for absolutely free. If you are looking for preparedness stuff, homesteading items, self-reliance skills, anything like that, your local library, you can check books out for free. Read those books, learn from them. You can get Kindle books. A lot of times, if you keep an eye on certain books, they will go and be free on Kindle for a couple of days, and then they go back to being paid for. But if you download them while they're free, you have them. You can read them when you have time, on the weekend, on a Thursday night, whatever you have. Having that ability is really important. And there is also so much information on YouTube. You really can learn from it. Not everything, obviously, like anywhere on the internet or anywhere, not everything is going to work for you. But if you just look around and figure out what parts you can take and use and would work for you, that at least will help you get started in the right direction. Practicing self-reliance skills is another one I think is super important. There are so many skills out there that you can learn to do, and you could pick these up as a hobby or just do it until you feel like you really have it mastered. And I have seen people out there weaving baskets out of pine needles. I think they're super cool looking. I really like them. And all that stuff is free. They just go out and collect it. That's what it's all, the work and stuff like that is how they're making their money. There's so much work and time involved in it. But weaving baskets out of pine needles or branches or vines, things like that can be super helpful if you ever need a basket for something, if you have to go collect berries for food, or if you have to have a basket to collect your harvest in your garden, things like that. Super important. Learning how to make candles, make soap, tie knots, read maps. There's so many things that you really could do, and there are tons of information out there. Practicing those skills will help you be able to do more things for yourself. You don't have to buy them. You can save some money for the things that you need money for. Weekend projects are another thing that you can do that don't cost any money. Getting organized, getting all of your emergency supplies together, all your first aid together, getting them all in a place where you know where they are and they're easy to access is super handy for you. It will help you in the long run. When there's an emergency, you'll just know where it is and you won't have to search for things. Organization is a really big one, especially if you have a bunch of emergencies. Other great weekend projects, you can back up your phone, all your contact information. Having a hard copy of everything is a great way to know that in an emergency, if your phone is down, if the phone lines are down, you have addresses, you have phone numbers, you may be able to come across someone that has a phone that works. Maybe your phone, drowns in the river or whatever, and someone else has a phone that works. If you've got hard copies of everything, you're able to at least contact people in an emergency situation. And print out hard copies of all that important information that you may need in an emergency. Also, you can put together a prepper notebook or a binder or something with your plans in there, what your inventory could be in there. You could do a whole bunch of different things. Prepper notebooks are great to keep your information centralized and easy to find. Those little stick-on tabs can be really handy, and just to help you flip through and find things. A lot of people put recipes in there. They'll put directions, different plans that they have for fire, hurricane, grid down, bug out plans, bug in plans. You could put all that stuff in there and have it in one central location, which again, in an emergency, so handy to have. And it doesn't cost you a penny to do any of this stuff. Another thing you can do is start saving containers. Soda bottles, juice bottles, things like that. Milk bottles, I wouldn't really recommend that because the milk can dry in there and you can't see it. So I wouldn't use a milk bottle. But old water bottles, things like that. Save those containers. You can store tap water in there. So at least you've got water that's potable if the water goes down. And in an emergency, you have got water. You need at least a gallon a day for drinking, for each person in your home. For cleaning and stuff like that, you're going to need even more. So as much water as you can store, and however you can store it. If you've got big containers, that's great. If you don't have any containers, soda bottles, juice bottles, they will work, and you will at least have some water for that emergency. Another thing that I thought would be a great thing to do, and I noticed the other day when I was at the local transfer station, I have seen so many things there, lots of rakes and things like that with broken handles. You can easily fix those handles with a stick. I know people that do it, and but I saw a rabbit hutch the other day that people don't want this stuff anymore, and they take it to the local transfer station or dump. I know a lot of people think that's kind of sketchy, But the reality is I saw this rabbit hutch the other day. I did not see anything wrong with it. The bottom wire was good. The locks were there, everything. I mean, I would definitely go over it before I put a rabbit in it and fix anything that needed fixing. But there are things out there that are free. And also those pay it forward groups, buy and sell groups, things like that online, Craigslist. Be careful meeting people, but definitely there are a lot of things out there that are free, and you could pick them up. And even if they needed a little tweaking to do what you need it to do, but you could get the items that you need that way for absolutely free. And it's a great way to give away items too, for people that might need the things that you don't need, because we all have stuff that we don't need. I think everybody does. And the last thing I have is, if you are looking for certain items, I know when we are getting organized, we get rid of things. We've always got things that we don't need, especially with 4 kids. We always land up with all this extra stuff. We give a lot of stuff away. It helps some other family. They may need it. And if we can't give it away, we toss it or drop it off at the thrift store or whatever. But ask your friends and family for stuff. I know that when I first started canning jars were just way out of my budget. $10 a case, and you can those up in one day. So I really was so excited when I first started canning. It was years ago, but I discovered that, like, these jars, they're classico spaghetti jars. They're just, instead of tossing them or putting them in the recycle bin, they are mason jars. They're heavy duty mason jars. They work great. I pressure can in them. I have for years and years and years. I know they say do not use regular spaghetti jars, and I wouldn't use the thin ones, but these are literal mason jars. It says right on it, they are masons, and they do work wonderfully. If you make sure it has the threaded cap on it, it will fit a regular mouth lid on there. So ask your friends and family. They may have jars. I just posted on my Facebook page one day if anybody had mason jars that they didn't want, that I would love them and really appreciate them. I had a friend show up with like 500 mason jars in her car. The trunk was full, the back seat was full, the front seat was full. She had boxes and boxes and boxes of them sitting in the garage that nobody used. She was going to learn how to can. She didn't like it, so she wanted to get rid of all those jars. I will tell you, those jars have been used and used and used at my house. We just keep reusing them. So ask around. You never know. I had put the word out. I was talking to my dad one day, told him I was looking for one of those little camp ovens that you can throw on the campfire, and because they will also fit on a wood stove. My dad bought a house. There happened to be one up in the attic. I fixed it up. Now I have a free camp oven that works on my wood stove, so we can cook muffins and little breads and things like that. We can bake in it anytime we want, right in the living room. So put the word out there. If you need something or you're looking for something, you may not get it for free, but someone might have it and don't want it. There are a lot of people that just don't see anything wrong with what's going on in this country, and they just don't see it, and they're not going to see it, unfortunately. So those people, I feel really bad for them, but it is what it is, and it could help you, and you're not going to be able to talk them into keeping it, so they will use it, because if they don't use it, they're not going to use it. And I'm definitely not saying put the word out there what you're doing, just what you're looking for. If you're looking for something in particular, a camp stove, a greenhouse, flower pots, anything like that. Lots of people have old little garden pots and things like that kicking around in the garage that they're probably never going to use, and you could definitely grow food in them, all sorts of stuff. I even was given a greenhouse one time, which I thought was pretty amazing. They're not cheap. And a relative of ours knew that we liked to garden, so she gave us a greenhouse. And it was so sweet of her and so kind. And I still use it. I've had it for 6 or 7 years, and it's got duct tape on it, and it's hideous, but it works. And I still use it. So there are just so many ways to go about getting the things you need for free. And also, there's tons of stuff to do that doesn't cost money, and you can still get prepared. And in the process, you're able to probably save a few dollars here and there on things, and you can put that money towards something that's important, like rice and beans to fill up those bottles with, or something for your family, extra oats, something like that. Even if it's not a lot, every little bit counts, no matter what. If you have any ideas of what you think is a great prep that I didn't talk about here today, definitely, if you can do it for free, put it in the comments down below. It really helps other people, especially new people that are just getting started. And that's it for today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.